A Visit from Grandmother. Written and narrated by Dagonhills. Many people associate the appearance of ghosts with fear and evil, and consider their existence as threatening, to curse and to haunt, perhaps even for revenge. Sometimes, though, they can be driven by something much different than those reasons, a force much stronger than those behind any evil intent. As the darkness engulfed the wooded countryside, and the shadows became part of the night, the house where young Emily Browning lived became just another part of the darkened landscape. As the light was extinguished in her room, she welcomed the warm embrace of the comforting blankets and the soft feather pillow that cradled her head like a cloud. She could see a light from around her door, which was coming from where her parents were talking and winding down their day, and she could just barely hear the methodical ticking of the old clock on the mantel that marked the passage of time since before she was born. Emily watched the faint light through eyes that were getting heavier. Emily stood in a large, dark forest, with trees reaching far up to the sky. So many she wasn't able to see past the mass of tangled branches, but she somehow knew that it was muted daylight that filtered down through the thick leaves, and not moonlight. The shadows were tall and transparent, reaching out in every direction. She stood there all alone, watching the path ahead of her, and she felt she somehow knew this place well, although it was strange and foreign to her. She heard no birds, no animals, and not even the sound of the cool breezes that touched her cheeks and made her long hair softly lift and fall around her face. She didn't feel any fear. She felt no worry, but she did feel a sad loneliness that made her feel even more isolated than the deserted forest already did. She tried to walk along the path, but her legs felt like lead. She tried to call out, but her voice was as silent as this mysterious place that she found herself. Suddenly, a bright ray of light shot down from above, and her heart smiled as she saw her beloved grandmother down the path in the distance. She tried calling out, but her voice was empty, and her smile vanished as she saw her grandmother turn away from her and slowly walk away, out of sight. Emily struggled to move her legs. She waved her arms, but not a sound came out of her mouth. She closed her eyes and was about to let out an anguished cry when she awoke in her bed and heard her bedroom door slowly opening. The silhouette of her grandmother in the doorway was visible through Emily's sleepy eyes, and she quickly called out to her, "Nana Rose, I'm so glad to see you. I just had a horrible dream." Emily's grandmother was silent as she made her way to the foot of her bed. "Oh, Nana, I saw you walking away, but you couldn't hear me." Silently, her grandmother moved around to the side of the bed, the same place where she always would sit and read to Emily, telling her stories of her childhood and life, calming her youthful fears, and listening to her dreams she had of when she was older. "I'm so glad to see you, Nana. My dream was terrible. I couldn't understand why you would just walk away, especially without saying goodbye. Did you bring me another rose from your beautiful garden?" Emily's grandmother held out her hand, and in it was a beautiful, perfect rose. "Thank you, Nana. You always bring me the best roses." Setting the rose down on the nightstand, Emily reached out to take her grandmother's hand, and as they held hands, Emily began to drift off to sleep again. Thank you for the rose, Nana. I'll see you in the morning. I love you so much. As Emily once again drifted off to sleep, she heard her grandmother softly say,
I love you forever, my dear Emily. Goodbye for now.
When the sunrise made its way up over the hills in the distance from Emily Browning's house, the new day was welcomed by the many songs of the woodland birds, the voices of the many creatures, and the gentle rush of the creek that ran past the home. The old clock on the mantel was ticking away, as it had always done. Emily ran downstairs to see her grandmother, but instead it was her parents speaking with an older gray-haired man that carried a small black bag. He was leaving just as Emily reached the kitchen. Papa, Mama, who was that man? Where is Nana? She helped me sleep after I had a bad dream. Emily's father spoke. Emily, that was Nana's doctor. I am so very sad and sorry to tell you that your Nana passed away last night, Emily. You know she has been very sick. Now she won't have to suffer anymore. She loved you very much, Emily. But she came into my room last night. She even said goodbye, and that she'd love me forever. I held her hand. Her father replied, I'm so sorry, Emily, but she's gone. I imagine that it was just a dream. As the sun continued its journey up into the cloud-filled, painted sky of morning, Emily was in her mother's loving arms with tears flooding her eyes, while upstairs on Emily's nightstand lay the most perfect, beautiful rose from her grandmother's garden. The bond that people share with their loved ones can be stronger than most anything, and the love of a grandmother for her granddaughter can be so strong that it can last a lifetime, only growing stronger, growing so strong that it can even reach out from beyond the cold grave. Many stories have been told of a departed loved one visiting a cherished relative, and sometimes something as final as death cannot stand in the way of one final goodbye.